Welcome back to the Gridiron set as we welcome back 2006 and 2007 Gridiron Glory host Matt Barnes. So Matt, how's it feel to be back in Athens?
I feel very old, but it's really cool. I mean, the place has barely changed, and happy to be back here.
That's great. Now, Matt, the reason we have you in studio today is because you can help us out with the 5 new teams in our coverage. Matt is currently the host of Football Friday Night for NBC4 in Columbus. So Matt, 3 of our new teams, Amanda Clear Creek, Bloom, Carroll, and Fairfield Union, come out of the Buckeye division of the extremely talented Mid-State League. Which of these teams could break out of the bottom tier of the division in 2015?
Well, it's funny, you mentioned how tough it was. I mean, 5 teams in that division made the playoffs, and there are only 8 in the division, so that's pretty darn good. Amanda Clear Creek's probably the class of those 3, though. They've just had the most success over the years, as well as last year making the playoffs. So if you're talking about one, Amanda Clear Creek's the one you want to watch. They've been good for a while. They're probably going to be good again this year.
That's right, and they were the only of the 3 teams to finish with a winning record at 6-5. So what's the key for them to stay a winning team and make that next step, maybe even make the playoffs?
Yeah, the thing with them, they're physical. They've always been a physical team ever since when I was in high school and we played them to now. They have a running back, Jordan Leisure. I don't know if you know about him, but he's a guy to watch. 1,800 yards, I think, last year, 17 touchdowns. And he's a big boy. The guy who probably should be playing offensive line, but because it's Amanda Clear Creek, they put him at running back, just plow guys over. So that's the guy you want to watch. And then they just always have a good offensive line. They're always going to run the ball, not a big passing team, but they do it well. So if they do it well, they're going to keep doing it, they'll be fine.
Love that ground and pound football on Friday nights. And when we visited the Aces, they were very excited about the new stands and what they call the pit. What can you tell us about the atmosphere at Amanda Clear Creek on Friday nights?
Yeah, it's funny. They've gone from the pit to Spade Nation to all these things. They've always have a different, it seems like, name for their fan section, but it's one of the best easily, not just in Southern Ohio or anything, but the whole state. Again, I go back to when I was in high school. We had to go there and play them in football. Oh man, it's the loudest place we ever had to play. But they're going to be fun. I think that's part of what makes the football atmosphere so great down there. Is because the fans, not just from the city, but that school, they show up, they're loud, and I think that spurs that team on, especially in a lot of close games that they'll play in that division, trust me.
Wow, well, we can't wait to get out there. So now let's shift over to Bloom Carroll. They're going to have some holes to fill. They graduated a strong group of seniors. So which players could be stepping up for the Bulldogs this year?
They have a lot of guys that, you said they have to fill. It's a senior class that I don't think that's deep, but when you had 4 wins last year, that new coach in the last 2 years, Wade Bartholomew, I'm sure he's still trying to just get the system in because the coach they had beforehand, Phil Morrow, brought them into success. There for 1 year, they made the playoffs, and I think they had to kind of just rally from there. So I look for the Bulldogs to make some noise. I think it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs, but I think 5-5, 1 win better from last year, would be a step forward in there, in that direction at least.
Definitely, and you mentioned their coach, Wade Bartholomew. Used to be, we're familiar with him from his days at Gallia Academy. He's such an up-tempo, high-energy guy. What have you noticed about his coaching style and leadership?
Well, I think exactly though, his energy is what is so important for them. You need energy, I think, to coach these high school kids, and I think that's exactly what he brings. And you notice he brought his dad, I should say, from Logan Elm, one of the teams in the region as well. His dad who retired, even though you don't really retire from coaching ever. His dad's now with him. I think that's only going to help to have a little bit more experience to go with Wade's energetic approach. Like I said, I think they have a real chance to make a move. I don't know if it's enough to make the playoffs, but I know the players love them, and I just think they're going to continue to get better through the years.
That sounds great. And then finally, at the bottom of the Buckeye division last year was Fairfield Union. They didn't get a conference win in 2014. What do they need to do to turn things around this year?
I think they need to stay the course. I know when you go 2-8, you're thinking, why stay the course? I just think they need to just focus on continually doing the small things right. They haven't made the playoffs since 2006. I know this is a fan base and a school craving a playoff berth, but just stay the course. They'll be fine. It's a tough division again, and I think it's kind of cyclical. Where they're down right now, but given 1-2 more years, they'll be right back at it. Some of these teams have just gotten really good in front of them in that division, and it's going to be tough sledding for sure.
So now you're saying that they should stay the course. What is the style of play that they should stick with? What have they done in the past?
Same thing, just a lot of the ground and pound. They don't really have the talent, I think, to really kind of air it out and things like that, but they're just fine in terms of cultivating talent. I think, it's just the schedule is just so hard, and that's the problem. So for them, I think if they can just slow a game down, keep it close for a while, you never know. You might be able to spring that one upset or two. But for now, it's just the talent in that division is so hard. It's just a matter of just getting some confidence. Maybe they'll be all right.
I mean, yeah, there's plenty of confidence to go around in that division. It is such a successful and highly competitive division. But now we move over to the Scioto Valley Conference for our other two teams, two of the stronger teams out of that conference, Unioto and Zane Trace. Now, looking at Zane Trace, they failed to make the playoffs despite a 7-3 record last season. What's the difference that they need to make that next step and get into the playoffs?
I think the biggest thing for them is they have to win a game that matters. And I say that because 7-3, it sounds great, but all the wins came against non-playoff teams. All 3 losses came against playoff teams. They would have been one of those playoff teams they're in. So it's a matter of the biggest games they have this year, they need to win. They need to beat those teams. And they're probably going to have, again, those 3 tough games again. Beat one of them, you'll be fine. Because they have a good enough squad probably to make the playoffs. It's got to get that one crucial game in.
Now, what have you noticed about their style of play? It seems that they really have a tough-nosed defense. They're trying to be a little more flexible with their formations this year. What have you seen with them in the past?
Well, with them, it's just a matter of, again, just keeping it, I think they're keeping the games close. And with their defense especially, if they can just, stay hard-nosed with them, I think they're really physical, that's for one thing. I think you have to be in that division because every team's going to run. They're all going to try to pound it inside the tackles. It just keeps the games close. Offensively, though, yeah, just find a way to put some more points on the board if possible. Maybe have some kind of air game, but I think for them, just staying physical is all they're really worried about, and they'll be fine.
Now, their rivals are the Sherman Tanks of Unioto. These two teams, they go at it hard. I remember when we went out to Unioto, they said, we're ready for that Zane Trace game. It's going to be good. When those two teams face off, what should we expect to see?
Well, I mean, it's Chillicothe versus Chillicothe. 3 schools there, and when those two face off, it's going to be a lot of fun. The thing is, Unioto's never made the playoffs. They go 8-2 last season. You think this is finally the year, but it's a bad schedule. It's a tough sledding, so you almost have to go 10-0 or 9-1 to make the playoffs. But yeah, when those two teams face off against each other, look out. It's all bets are off. Don't worry about the record. It's one of those typical rivalry games we talked about. All the cliches are in play. And I just love the name Sherman Tanks. How cool is that, by the way? Isn't that great? It's a great nickname.
Can't wait to see that game. That's going to be a great one for sure. What can you tell us about the mentality of those Sherman Tanks?
Well, they're big. That's the thing. I mean, I wrote this down because I still couldn't believe. I had to make sure I got this right. A guy who's 6'5", 260, Austin Hauser, defensive lineman. That's a big dude. And then you have a 6'3", 200. Yeah, exactly. You have a 6'3", 205 guy, defensive back Eric Hosley. Those are 2 guys they're obviously going to be counting on. When you have guys that big, though, no matter what city you're in, however small your school is, you're going to have a chance there. So I can only imagine how good that defense is going to be this season. Again, though, they might have to win 8, 9, 10 games just to make the playoffs because of the conference they're in is not so good in terms of the rest of the teams. So, I mean, it's tough sledding, but we'll see what they can do.
That sounds great. Can't wait to see these teams. They all seem to be tough teams. Now, finally, when you were host, Travis Cook and Cam West were the Gridiron Glory Players of the Year. Who can we expect to make it onto the final ballot from these 5 new teams?
Well, I think we already mentioned Jordan Leisure. I love him from Amanda Clear Creek. Got to see him a couple times last year, and again, just a hoss. Just hard to take down. Good luck trying to keep him. I mean, 1,800 yards last year. If he doesn't go over 2,000 this year, I'll be very surprised. Another guy, Truman Love from Zane Trace. He was the SVC Defensive Lineman of the Year. I mean, these stats are great. 95 to 100 tackles every one of his 3 years there. He's going to be a senior this year. Plus, he ran for 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. So you're talking about a guy who just is good on both sides of the ball. And I mean, that's exactly what you want from your Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. So those are the 2 guys I would say from the 5 team that I think might make that midseason watch list and maybe all the way to the finale.
So it looks like these 5 new teams bring just about everything for the table. And thanks for stopping by our table and bringing us some great information on these 5 new teams.
You got it.
Good to see you, Matt.
Good to see you too.